UK's million-pound cheese cocaine gang, caught by one silly mistake. Rain hammered the roofs of East London's industrial docks, turning the narrow lanes between warehouses into slick ribbons of light. The smell of diesel, salt, and stale air hung thick. Two men, both in orange vests that looked too clean for dock work, unloaded wooden crates from a refrigerated truck labeled Gourmet Imports Limited. Each box bore a neat stencil, Somerset Reserve Cheddar, product of England. The night felt routine, mechanical. But somewhere in the stacks, a van waited without headlights. Inside sat a third man, eyes sharp behind the condensation of the windshield, tapping his fingers on the steering wheel. His name was Eddie Larkins, a mid-level distributor with more ambition than sense. He checked his phone, one message from an unknown number. Shipment confirmed. Do not open. By morning, the truck would be halfway to Manchester, where the cheese would officially go to upscale delis and boutique restaurants. Unofficially, inside those solid cheddar wheels were vacuum-sealed packets of something far more profitable, high-purity cocaine pressed into discs, perfectly molded to the curvature of imported cheese. For nearly a year, this method had been foolproof. The gang's operation ran with the precision of a legitimate business. Customs forms, tax filings, refrigerated logistics, even a social media presence advertising award-winning Somerset dairy. Behind it all was Viktor Dobrev, a Bulgarian-born importer with a spotless record and a network of smugglers stretching from Rotterdam to Birmingham. The police had no clue. Until now. That morning, at Heathrow's border control facility, a junior customs officer named Clara Whitby was logging inbound cargo documents. Her day was uneventful, scanning barcodes, checking manifests, sipping cold tea. But when she opened crate #2241B, she noticed something odd. The cheese inside wasn't marked with the same branding as the others. It looked perfect, maybe too perfect, like it had never seen a real dairy. She scanned the tracking number again. The system flashed red. Duplicate manifest detected. At first, she thought it was an IT error, but protocol required an inspection. Clara called her supervisor. Within minutes, a small team gathered around the box. When they drilled a small sample hole into the wheel's center, what came out wasn't the rich yellow of cheddar, it was a fine, white dust. The test kit confirmed it. Cocaine. Nearly a kilo. By noon, National Crime Agency, NCA, officials had cordoned off the entire shipping lane. Agents disguised as logistics inspectors began tailing delivery routes tied to Gourmet Imports Limited. On paper, it was a small family-run cheese distributor operating out of a warehouse in Barking. But inside, investigators found industrial chillers, vacuum sealing machines, and ledgers scribbled in code, a language of numbers, weights, and initials. Meanwhile, Eddie Larkins, unaware of the discovery, was making his usual drop in Manchester. The buyer, a restaurant supplier named Gavin Trent, handed him an envelope and a handshake. But Eddie's phone buzzed again. Same number. Return to base. Now. He froze. But I just delivered the... Now. The message vanished seconds later. By the time he reached the M1 southbound, his rearview mirror was a blur of blue lights. He tried to stay calm, exiting toward an industrial park. A black BMW blocked the alley. Two men stepped out. Not police. They were Victor's men. Back in London, NCA investigator Detective Sarah Collins studied the manifest files. Something wasn't right. The registered importer, Gourmet Imports Limited, was listed as active, but the company's VAT number led to a different address, a residential flat above a nail salon in Peckham. This isn't just smuggling, she muttered. They built an entire business to hide it. The case gained speed. Surveillance teams tracked multiple vehicles tied to the cheese distributor. All used refrigerated units, all bearing the same fake license plates, swapped every 2 days. Someone inside customs was helping them. The precision was too perfect. That night, a sting operation began. Officers monitored a new shipment coming in through the port of Dover, another container of Somerset Reserve cheddar. The customs flags were identical to the one Clara had found. Collins authorized a silent trace. The truck was tagged and followed across county lines. But halfway to its destination, it vanished. Traffic cameras caught it entering a tunnel near Gravesend. It never emerged. The next morning, the investigation went public. Newspapers screamed headlines like, "Cocaine hidden in cheese, UK's bizarre new smuggling method." Victor stayed calm. The media was good for business, he thought. Chaos made customers panic buy. But when one of his lieutenants brought him the day's police brief, with his warehouse photo printed on the cover, Victor's confidence cracked. "Who touched the manifests?" he demanded. "Only Eddie." Then Eddie dies. Meanwhile, Detective Collins received an anonymous call. The voice was male, nervous, and unsteady. "You're looking for Victor Dobrev. He's got a truck near Dartford. But you didn't hear it from me." She tried to trace the call, but it ended abruptly. Minutes later, NCA units swarmed the Dartford crossing. They found the missing truck abandoned by the roadside, engine still warm. Inside the refrigerated compartment were 43 wheels of Somerset Reserve cheddar. Each one hollowed out and stuffed with cocaine, except for one. The last wheel was real cheese. Handcrafted. Local. With a note taped underneath. One silly mistake. Colin's heart pounded. The handwriting was neat, deliberate. Someone inside the ring had left this message on purpose. And when forensics dusted the note for prints, they found something that made her blood run cold, not Victor's fingerprints. Eddie Larkin's. The note sat on the evidence table like a dare. One silly mistake. Detective Sarah Collins stared at it until the letters blurred, then slid the bag to Clara Whitby. "Walk me through your first find again," Collins said. Clara exhaled. "Duplicate manifest." And the wheel looked too perfect. No rind bloom, no variation. Also the stamp. What stamp? Clara pointed to a photo on her phone, a circular wax brand impressed into the rind. State Route 21 PDO. PDO marks are added at the dairy, not in transit. But this one has a microburr. It's a 3D printed copy. Collins felt a spark. Counterfeit stamp. Duplicate manifest. Someone had built a cheese factory out of lies. The lab results from the Dartford truck came back fast. Purity averaging 82%. Street value, 7 figures. They also found a fingerprint on the refrigerated latch. Not Eddie's. Not Victor's. A man with no record at all, a ghost. The only match was a partial on a logistics badge used at Dover 2 weeks earlier. Marcus Hale, contracted forklift operator, address listed as in transit. Disposable identity. By dusk, Collins assembled a small task force. They'd run a controlled delivery, replace the cocaine with plaster, return the wheels to circulation, and see who came to collect. "We keep this tight," she said. "No leaks." She looked at Clara. "You're off the floor tomorrow. You'll sit in our van, monitor the manifest system, and flag any movement." Clara nodded, but her eyes flicked to the window. She had never been part of something this big. She also knew what it meant to be visible. The location chosen for the drop was a boutique deli in Camden, a real customer with fake inventory. At 9 a.m., a white refrigerated van rolled up, logo, Gourmet Imports Limited. The driver wore a beanie and the casual confidence of routine. He signed, lifted 2 wheels into the walk-in fridge, and left without buying a coffee. "Tag acquired," a surveillance tech murmured. "Vehicle tracking live." Collins waited for the van to pull into traffic. "Follow but hang back. I want the meeting place, not the driver." The van headed east, threaded around Shoreditch, and then cut into an old meatpacking district where the cobbles sweated cold even in daylight. It backed into a shuttered unit with no signage. Inside, thermal showed 4 bodies and running chillers. Collins raised her hand. "We hold. Let them move product." She watched the screen, the blue-white silhouettes of people lifting wheels. Then a 5th body appeared. Taller. Shoulders squared. He didn't touch anything, he inspected. "Victor." They let him leave. Sometimes the fastest way to take down a tree is to follow the roots. The van stayed. Victor's black BMW ghosted south, across the river, into a housing estate in Deptford. He entered a ground floor flat with blackout curtains. 5 minutes later, the curtains shifted. A second figure appeared. Woman. Mid-30s. Zoom. The long lens caught a sliver of a face, then a reflection in a framed print. A desk covered in ledgers and a laptop running accounting software. Collins felt the click in her brain. Money makes the world confess. Who is she? ANPR hit the plate on a previous stop near a small accountancy in New Cross. Name: Mara Allison, self-employed bookkeeper. No criminal record. HMRC filings immaculate. Back at the warehouse, the team went in. The plaster wheels were stacked by the door. The driver swore, the forklift ghost tried to run, and 2 others froze. On a steel prep table, officers found what Clara had described, a 3D printed PDO stamp, its edges nicked by use. The silly mistake was brutal in its simplicity, a fake seal that custom scanners never cared about but a human eye could spot. "Where's Eddie Larkins?" Collins asked the driver. "Don't know any Eddie." She nodded to the arresting officer. "He'll remember soon." The pressure worked. By afternoon, the driver flipped. "Eddie's the runner between Victor and the restaurants," he muttered. "He went missing yesterday. People say he messed up a form." "What form?" "Export reclaim. He applied for VAT back on cheese he never exported. Computer bounced it. That's how the duplicate popped." Clara swallowed hard. A tax refund glitch. The entire empire rattled because someone got greedy twice. They moved on Victor. Warrants printed, team staged. Collins took Clara with her to Deptford. "You spot anything off in there, you tell me quietly," she warned. "Victor will look for the weak link." Inside the flat, the air smelled like lemon cleaner and cold money. Mara sat at the desk, startled but composed. Victor stood by the kitchen doorway, palms up, a host greeting unwelcome guests. "Mr. Dobrev," Collins said. "We're seizing records under proceeds of crime. Ms. Ellison, you too." Mara glanced at Victor, and there it was, the micro-twitch of a person choosing a side. She slid a USB drive across the blotter. "He pays me in cash for reconciling non-existent inventory. I can show you the shell companies." Victor's voice was soft. "Mara." She didn't look at him. "You said it was cheese, Victor. Not murder." The room stilled. "Murder?" Collins asked. Mara stared at the ledger. "Eddie told me he wanted out. Yesterday he missed a meet. Hours later, Victor called it a disciplinary accident. I heard someone in the background crying." Clara's chest tightened. If Eddie was the whistle in the wind, someone had already tried to silence it. They split the pair and drove them separate ways. Mid-route, the tail car on Victor radioed in a ping, a gray motorcycle shadowing them 2 lengths back. Seconds later, it surged, cut across traffic, and a rider in black slapped a magnetic device under the rear bumper. "Brake!" the escort driver shouted. The car slewed into a bus lane. The rider bolted. Collins's voice exploded over the radio. "Don't stop. Run it out to the safe yard now." Bomb squad cleared the device in a controlled bay, not explosives, a GPS piggyback with a relay. Someone else wanted to know where Victor was going. Someone Victor didn't control. That night, Collins tucked Mara into a safe house and rolled into the incident room with 50 new threads. The shell companies formed a spiral: Dutch shippers, Irish importers, a Jersey management trust. At the center was a name they hadn't seen: Lambert Foods Consortium, a holding entity that owned Gourmet Imports. Directors hidden behind nominee services, but one registered office kept appearing in footnotes: a sleepy law firm in Holborn. "Go at dawn," Collins told her team. "Paper cuts first, handcuffs after." At 3 a.m., Clara's phone lit the van with a cold glow. She was reviewing customs access logs, skimming, then she froze. A privileged login had edited the export reclaim queue 2 hours before her duplicate manifest alert. The username belonged to her supervisor. She tried to call Collins, but the line was busy. Clara opened the door for air. That was when she saw a figure at the edge of the car park, shoulders hunched against the drizzle, watching the van. A second silhouette peeled off the shadows to flank him. Clara slid back inside, locked the door, and whispered into the radio, "I've got a problem." Footsteps approached. A hand tried the handle. The second figure knocked, calm, deliberate. "Clara," a voice said through the glass. It was her supervisor. "Open up. We need to talk about your report." She stared at the door, pulse stuttering. The safe choice was to open it. The smart choice was to run. She checked the rear camera. Another man stood behind the van, half hidden by fog. Not colleagues,